Okay, we've got a few new things we need to do to the to-do list. It's been a little while, but I realized in looking at what we had that doing a custom header might be nice so we can get more functionality out of the header area, as well as assigning ownership of the to-dos. Right now, no matter who I sign in as, I will see all the to-dos created by anybody. So let's go ahead and start with filtering this to-do list to only show what belongs to you, so the items you've created. And that'll make this a little bit closer to what you would refer to as a multi-tenant app, meaning many different disparate users can use it and only see the activities they've done. So I'm going to go over to Xano, and I'm going to kind of show you what we have currently. As I go through my new videos, you're going to see some new features that the Xano folks and AppGyver folks have created. I'll try to call them out where I notice it. One of those would be anywhere you have a table reference in Xano. They now give you the ability to, if you double click on it, see the connection to the other table and actually filter that connection and pick items that from that table for the reference. So before you had to know the ID, and now they're making it much easier. So that's definitely a fun one to use, and we're actually going to use it in this video. You'll notice that everything is based on my user email address. So just to show you what it looks like, I am going to change, let's say we do TA1. So now I have test account 1. I'm going to go ahead and semi-quickly go through each one of these. And I'm reassigning these email or these to-dos with this email so that we can see in the app when we actually have it working to filter based on who created it. So I'm forcing the creation here. And let's go ahead and show one more little piece. You can also see that you've got the exact same ID because they show you the ID there as well. And there. Okay, so now I have 5 of the most recent to-dos associated to the test account. So what we need to do to make this filtering work is we need to make a change to the API. We need to come out here. Oops, sorry, this is my database tab. As you remember, I try to work across 2 tabs just so I can bounce between things a little bit more quickly. Okay, so if we're getting the list of to-dos, we are currently using the get to-do query all to-do records. And it has a filter, but if you remember from the prior videos, this filter works on, let's just take a look, the to-do name, where we do a like. And I'm going to make a change here as well. It's been a while since we've been in here, but the like, let's see, yep, we're good there. They used to have an I like. I was having flashbacks to prior days. The like is a case insensitive comparison. There we go. So we're going to leave that as is. Completely ignore that. So this is the filtering we have currently. What I want to do is add a new one, but I don't need to add an input. The initial thought would be, hey, I need to pass in the user ID so I can filter on it. But since we're using authentication, the user ID is embedded within the auth token, which means all I have to do is come into my query and create an and condition. And I am going to go to my to-do created by, and I'm going to say it has to equal, and this is the part that makes life easier. We're going to come out to the auth category, and we're going to choose ID. This auth ID is the token that was embedded in the authentication token. So now we're going to get a filtered list. Let's go ahead and run and debug that. So if I put in, another new feature, Xano has made it much easier to work with authenticated APIs. And now you can just put in the email address and it will auto-generate a token for you so that you can test. And so I've auto-generated one based on my Steve email. And when we run that and come over to debugger, you will see that I have 12 items. So if I come back to my database, just to confirm that we're actually doing this correctly, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. And I didn't get any of these. So now if I were to switch that authentication token to be the TA1, we can there we go. New authentication token, no filter. And then when I come look at debugger, you see I have 5. So at this point, we have, as always with Xano, very simply updated our API so that based on who's logged in, we will filter our returned list. So now I should get 2 different, so I changed nothing in AppGyver because I had no change to what it looked like for the API signature, the parameters passed in. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my screen, and we're going to just take a couple of minutes, and we're going to do this for real in the app just to confirm that we're working not only on the Xano side, but this has also reflected that change in the actual app. Okay, so I think probably by default I'm logging in as Steve app. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. So we have 12. So that's my auto login for Steve app. Let's go ahead and go to my profile and sign out. And I am going to go ahead and log in at the TA1 email for our test account 1. And we'll put in the password and log in. And there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got the 5 newest, most of which I haven't put images on, but why don't we go ahead and test that since we haven't been here in a while. Let's make sure, oh, there's a picture of my tire with a screw in it. So there we go. Nothing more exciting than having to repair your tire. So now when we come back in, you can see that I have that. So image upload still works, our list works, and we've now, let's, while we're here, just make sure that we can filter, and the filtering still works. Okay, so yay. We've just created a new feature in there very easily using the auth token. And what I wanted to show you was, hey, where does that come from? See, where do I want to go? I want to go back to my APIs. Where does that authorization ID truly come from? Let's eliminate any concept of magic. So I'm going into the login for the To-Do app. And if you remember way back when, and video maybe 5 or 6 or something like that, there was the create authentication token. And here is where the magic is, because there is none. The authentication token that gets created has by default specified, and we leave it as such, the user.id that is available when, if you notice, we email and password, we get a record to see if it exists. If it does exist, we make sure the password is right, and then we get the ID off of the user table, which is where this user.id is coming from. And then it gets embedded in and encoded in the authentication token. So when you pass that back from AppGyver into Xano, it's available to us in the auth section of all of the variables, which is where we then, for our get to-dos, where in our query all records, we added it right there. So no more magic on that. Anytime you have an authenticated set of APIs, there is no need to pass in user ID because Technically, you're already doing that with the authentication token. So remember that, makes life a little bit easier. So now I want to show you a couple of things in AppGyver that have changed. A number of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago or more, they switched to the version 2 of their runtime. So they've got a lot of new features and capabilities, but because of that, there's a couple of things that are just broken that someone was nice enough to mention in the comments so that I could mention it to you guys in this video. I do have it documented in the show notes and the comments, but when I create a new account, I have an open page. This used to be open in modal true. And if you do true for the login sequence, creating a new account, then when I am in the create new account sign up page, and I do the sign up and then the dismiss initial view, this dismiss initial view will not work if the sign up page was opened as modal. So make modal false back on the login page for the create account link. And also, you need to, let me think, where was that? Not here. So I'm still on the sign up page. There's another option here, allow page to be opened without authentication. Either that wasn't there or I didn't have it on and it didn't matter, but I think this is probably a new item. You need to turn this on. By default, it's off. If you don't have in the sign up page this turned on as a toggle, then when you are in the login and you click on create new account, it does nothing because it thinks that that sign up page needs authentication, and we obviously don't have that yet. So definitely make those two changes if you haven't already, and we'll be good to go with the version 2 capabilities. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start in here, not this screen though. I want to add in a new custom header. I've done this in my own personal apps that I'm building, and I kind of like the look and feel and capabilities that I can add in with that. So we're going to go to the to-do list. By default, let me go back over. Oh, it's going to keep losing it. That will be a bit annoying, but we're going to go ahead and start mirroring again. I want to show you real quickly here what it is I want to make changes to. Okay. One other thing I'll mention while we're looking at it, you'll see an AG legend icon there. If you're having difficulties getting your app that was written during AppGyver's version 1 runtime to run in the new AppGyver emulator runtime, they have an app out on the store called AG Legend, as you can see there. And AG Legend is the version 1 runtime. So it gives you a chance to run version 2 in AppGyver and version 1 in AG Legend, so you can make the comparisons and get your app fixed and moved forward. So that makes it very helpful. So I'm going to go into the version 2. And if you notice at the top, I don't know that it shows up real good on the video, but this to-do list header area is a light gray. And there's nothing you can do with it other than show static text or the name of the page. And I am more interested in having icons and custom back buttons and share icons up in this header area like you see in a lot of apps. And to be able to do that, you need to create a custom header. So what we are going to do is we are going to turn off. So I went to navigation, went to the header bar, and I'm going to get rid of the header bar, which is that gray area, which means I need to replace it with something. The nice thing about the header bar when you use AppGyver's navigation is it does automatically put itself on every page. What you'll have to do with a custom header is copy and paste the whole header section to each page. It's not really that hard. It's something you have to remember, but if you want the extra capabilities and features, then that's the path. Okay. Let's see if I can remember this without having to refer to my app. We are going to put, I'm going to do it over here. It's a little easier to see. I'm going to put a container. Okay. And I've already got some additional things I want to change. If you notice, my container does not go full width. It's got some border, some margin there. By default, the styles put page level margins, and I'm going to eliminate all those. Once again, it's something I do on my own apps, is to make the page itself completely devoid of padding and margin, so that I can control padding and margin from the containers I put on it. I will leave this one on the bottom for now, and we'll come back and see if I can make that 0. My thought is I might need to leave that there so that I get a full list of to-dos and a good placement of this button. So I'm not going to mess with that, but for the rest of it, I've now made it full width, and if you'll notice, my images now come all the way to the side. So let's go ahead and save that. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup because of what I just broke. I'm going to come out to my list, and I have a scroll view. And so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to put the margins in the scroll view. So that was at 16. We're going to leave that as is, and then maybe put the 8 over here if I remember correctly. And that should look pretty decent. We'll take a look at it real quick here. See what I can get here. Get my list back. Unless I broke that, let's go back in. Okay. You'll notice my header's gone, which is expected because we haven't added the new one in yet. And then I've got, I can't scroll on the exact side because I've put margins in there, but I can still get in. Okay, so we're in pretty decent shape. We'll do more cleanup on that if we have to, but now that I've at least got it looking kind of like it was before, we are going to fix my header. So here we have put in a container, if you remember. It's now full width of the page. Let's come into our advanced properties and say this is header container. And then within the header container, I need 2 more containers. One of the containers is, let's see if I can get that in here. Come over to the side, drop it in that way. This is going to be status container. And this one is meant to push the page down past the time and date and battery and things like that that you have. Let's see, that's where I want to go. I want to go to dimensions and positions, and I want to make this a height of 45 pixels. Okay. So you'll see all I've really done is push that down a bit. There's nothing else that goes in this one. And if I go back to my to-do list, you'll see that now I have my search pushed down past all of the battery and network and time. So that's the purpose of that piece. I'm going to add in another container that will be the actual title and navigation area. So let's switch back over to AppGyver. And then I am going to drop in, put it, let me drag status up so that, oh, there we go. Okay, so status is on top where I want it. And then I'm going to name this one, say this is navigation. Let's make it a little shorter. That's a long word. Nav container. And within the nav container, I want 3 separate sections. I'll show you why here shortly, but I'm just going to simply use a row. By default, a row has 2 cells. I want a 3rd cell, and I don't want them to be the same size. I think I want this one, the middle one, to be, let's see what we get here, 20, 60, 20. Let's do 25% on the two left and right to give me a little bit of room, and I'll tell you what I'm going to put in there, and then 50% for the middle one. So I now have a middle container where I am going to put my title of the page. I have a left section which I will use for the back icon and the word back. You can also make it, instead of say back, you could have it be the name of the page it's going back to, because you can customize it. And then over here, what I've done in my app is I've actually put a profile picture icon, and that allows me to eliminate what I currently have, which is a profile tab navigation at the bottom. So let's build this out a little bit so it's a real thing instead of just a skeleton. So I'm going to put in the title. And let's just hard code title for now. Looks like title. There we go. It fixed itself. And so for the title, we'll put a variable here, but just so I can style it while we're working together on this, we want all of that to stay as it is. I'm going to get rid of my custom values here. Let's make that a 0. Make this a 0. And I'm going to make that a bigger font. Let's see here, font size. I wonder if we have a font size in here, font size paragraph. Let's see if we can't be a little bit better about using the theme and take a moment to scroll all the way down to font sizes. And let's see, maybe a header 3 size. I'm going to go a little bigger than that. I'm going to go header 2. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. And then this is something I always forget, but you also want to change the line height, or it can cut off the bottom of your letters, especially Y's and G's and things like that. So let's go to line height. See, I'm not sure exactly where that is, but we're going to scroll till we find it. There we go. And I had line height, and I'll do that. So now it's giving me the line height to give the needed space for Y's and G's and Q's and whatnot. Okay. And then let's align it to be centered, because it's a title and it should be centered. That looks pretty decent for now. Let me go ahead and save just so I kind of have a marker of where I'm at. We may come in and clean that up a little bit more. We might even make it a lighter text. We'll have to just look and see if that's too bold of a color. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like to add in the icon. Oh, what happens when I drop it accidentally? Let me pick this back up and put it there. We'll change the icon in a second. We definitely, where do I want to go for this? We're good there. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change the font size. What do you think? Do you think we can get away with changing this to be header 2, or is that going to be too big? Yeah, header 2 is not bad. And then the color we want to change. Let's see. I do not remember where we going to be color background. Nope. So one thing I think that would be nice is be able to see the actual colors, because it's kind of when I forget, and I could go look at theme and just figure it out. And if I don't get the text color right, informative? Yeah, we're going to go with informative, because that's our button colors, and I want it to be the same. I guess I could have just clicked and looked there. Okay, so we've got that. I don't think I need to change any background, but I do in, let's see, where are we here? We're on the icon in the cell, for the cell layout. I want this to sit in the middle. and I want it to be centered. And I could have done it the same way here. Let's do that. So I clicked on the cell for the title. I centered the text within its own area, but let's go ahead and do this so that we've got some consistency. And then while I'm on that, I'm not sure. Let's see what we do here. Let's keep it the same for now, but we'll see if this works. Okay, so I have a cell here. I've created, let me jump around on you. I said I was going to change the icon because I want it to look more like a profile setup. So let's come in here and see if we search on user. We can grab, yeah, that one looks pretty decent. Okay, so now we have our user profile icon. Oh, I'm going to be picky. Don't know that I like that one. I like this one. I like the circle around it. I don't know. Seems to be what I'm used to seeing probably, which is probably why I like it. Okay, so now we are going to add in the navigation one, and this one's going to take a little tweaking. So let's see here. I think I want to add in a row to the container because I'm going to have two sections. This may not be the best option, but we're going to try it and see. And then I don't want 50-50. I want this one to be smaller. So if I click over to the one I want bigger, because I can't make that one any smaller the way I'm at, I want to click here and grow this so that I have more room for word and less room for icon. Okay. So I think we're good there. Cell layout, cell image, all that good stuff. Let me come to the row. I think, yeah, I wanted to make sure that the margins for the row were 0, so I get optimal space for what I'm going to add in here. So we're going to add in an icon. Am I going to get it in the right spot? I did. I could have just drug it over here and done it, but I didn't. I don't want title. I want to put in a paragraph. There. And that paragraph is hard-coded for now with back, so we can see what we have. We save it so everything resizes correctly. I want to add in a little bit of margin. I would say center the word back, but I think it's going to be smarter to add some margin to the side because depending on the word that you put there, it may not center effectively. So I'm going to give it 8. And then we notice here that I don't want it taking up space. Oh, and another interesting thing, if you have a trackpad or a mouse wheel, if you're, I've never noticed this before, it may be new, but if you've got the cursor in one of these margins and you go moving your wheel because you think you're going to scroll this section, you actually change the value. So doing that, I've accidentally changed my margins and other values that have that little scroll feature. It's actually pretty helpful as long as you know it's there. Okay, so moving away from that little tidbit of knowledge, let's go ahead and pick our icon. See which ones. We're going to go with the thin one. We don't want anything too bold. And then we're going to go with informative for the text, because if I'm smart enough to remember, we have color, font, informative, which will give me the green color. And then let's go ahead and do that. Actually, I think I'm going to make this text a lighter gray color. At least for now, I'm convincing myself that that lighter gray there, just so it's not as bold. Normally that's a lighter gray. That might be too light. We'll worry about that later. But if you see what we have now, we're getting there, aren't we? I still want to fix up this a little bit. I need to move it away from the edge. I tend to use 8 pixel units for whatever reason. Okay, and then we're not too bad off there. Doesn't feel like it's completely centered, and it may not get to be, but we're gonna, why don't I stop messing around with that? I'm gonna save it, and we're gonna come back over and remirror. I need to remember to turn off my screen save because it keeps disconnecting me. Okay, go back into the to-do list, and let's see if we got close. So this is what you start getting for a custom level. And so what I'm gonna do, I think my search is too close to it. I need to give a little bit of space at the top of my scroll view. And then I will probably make back and that arrow a little bit larger so they don't feel diminutive to this icon over here. This feels like a pretty good touch size. I could even make that a little bigger maybe, but we'll hang with there. And then we're going to connect this up to what is currently done with the profile down here. So yeah, let's go do that cleanup before we give up on things. I think I want this, let's see here, we're in the cell. I want to come in and do a larger font size. Maybe we can make everything header 2, and it'll look in proportion. So we've got that as that size, text color background. Okay. So we've got the back to do as well. So let me come to my font size here, and we'll want to change both items, both the line height. That might be a little bit too crazy there. May need to take that one down a step. We're going to see what that looks like. As you can tell, this is, for me, maybe there's other folks out there who have a better handle on just what it should be, but for me, it's kind of a trial and error process to get some of that sizing to feel right. Okay. Let's see what we have. So now I want to go to the cell and layout. I forgot I needed to do that to center it. And see, that's why we don't want it centered there. That's why I still like the margin better for the back button. Let me go ahead and save that. And I'm looking off to the right here, to my right, because I kind of want to see what this does when I save it, see if it refreshes my app for me before I show you guys. But I think, yeah, I'll probably go one bigger here. Whew, that's kind of big, isn't it? Let's see what we've done to ourselves. Yep, that is just too big. So we're going to go into history and roll back that change. And then we'll see what this looks like. Also, something I've noticed with the version 2 emulator is sometimes when I save and it refreshes itself like it just did, it doesn't re-execute or handle the data correctly. And by that, I mean I have nothing in my list, but if I switch to a screen and come back, it still doesn't have anything in my list. So let's go out and come back in. Yeah, so there's some goofy stuff there, but my back is pretty decent there. We can mess with the size of this. I'll let you guys do that offline. The only other thing I'm going to do is put some space between my search and the title because that feels really crowded. So let's come over here, collapse some of this down. And I want to, wonder if I should just put that on the search itself. Yeah, the search bar is just right there on its own. I am, pardon me while I just process here. I may put a little margin below the header container. This is kind of a hit and miss thing, because do I want the margin that I add to the header container means it'll be on every page. And I think that's what I want, so that I have more space, because I'll have the same problem on every page. So let's come in here and add in, let's see if we go 24. I'll go to the what feels like an extreme. Come back into my app. Yeah, it feels a little far, like they're a little too distant from each other. Oops. Okay, here's an example of using my trackpad. There we go. Let's see if we can get there with 16. Okay. So you'll notice my back is a little off. I'm going to let you guys tweak that as you kind of do font sizes and margins. And before we go, why don't we at least make this thing do something? I am going to have it do the same thing that the tab navigation does, which means I want to open a page. And actually, lesson learned here, sorry, getting too anxious. Even though I'm clicked right where I want to be, where they're going to click, I want them to have a little bit, or not that big of a click space. We are going to stay with icon. What I was going to say is to have the open happen off of here, because then the full size of the cell is clickable. That just feels too big. So I'm going to go back to where I was, and we are going to open a page, and it is going to be the profile page. We're going to save that. We're going to come back into the app. And now come back in, see if I can get, and then when I tap on the profile, I go into profile. And so what you can do as kind of your homework is, for the profile page, just copy and paste this whole header container. So I just click on that. I say do it in homework, and then I think I'm going to do it myself, so that's sad. I will do my copy. As you can see, I copied it. Can't leave you guys without a complete tutorial. And then click on page layout and paste it. It'll put it at the bottom, drag it to the top. Once again, you'll see that my page has dimensions, which I don't do anymore. So let's undo those margins like we did before, so that everything looks better for the custom header. Get rid of all of them. I'm going to save this. And then we'll come back over here, and you'll realize that if I go into profile, the one thing that we definitely want to change is there is no reason to have a profile icon here. And so all you have to do is come in and delete it. And then on this back, I do want to, on that whole cell, that's where I'm going to navigate back, because I don't want to have to set up the navigate back flow function on both the icon and the back, and the cell is about the right size. I want them to be able to click anywhere there. So I guess it's good maybe that I'm doing this in the video, because it gives you an idea of how quickly you can move this to other pages and even customize it. So here's what my main page looks like. If I switch over here, there's my main page. I touch profile and I go into profile, and I touch back and I go to back. And so at this point, I have a custom I have a custom header that I can do many fun things with. Okay. Can't leave things undone, can I? Open moving that back. And it doesn't, so that is your homework. Make the back look pretty, make it line up with your arrow so it doesn't look clunky. That's what we're gonna wrap up with on this video. We'll probably be doing a little bit of cleanup on that header on this screen and other screens that we do. Like, we need to add it, that I will let you do. You need to add it to the to-do detail, because we have it on the to-do list and we have it on the profile. So please add it to the to-do detail and the new to-do screen. And then I will meet you in the next video, and we will do some more work on this to-do app, because we still need to be able to edit the name and description and such. I let you edit the image, but you also need to be able to edit the name and the description of a to-do, and you need to be able to mark it as complete. So those are things that are up and coming. Thanks for hanging with me. Hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video.